So we are discussing different methods to authorize a user for particular transaction, which is done with the help of the credit card, for example. So we can do this by using some functions which are applied on the data which is being exchanged between the user or the card holder, or between the device which is used to do the transactions for particular purchase, for example. So it can have different functions. So it verifies a user. So after verifying the user, it can, for example, if any of the data that is coming from the user, like from card holder, so it will be encrypted using encryption methods. And when it comes at the receiver end, like for example device here, so it will be decrypted using a decryption algorithm, for example. So in this way it may use a semantic encryption or asymmetric encryption. And then after verifying a particular device, it will authorize a particular user to perform some task, to do the payment, or to use a particular thing, to order particular thing. Then it will be the device which will be sending the request to the user, or to the system, or to the server, or to the particular paying which is related to that user or that card holder. And then it will verify it using a dual signature, for example. So we have discussed about the dual signature. So it will be verified with the private key as well as with the public key. So mainly, if we are using a private key, that will be only be held by a particular user. So that's why we say that it's a private key. And public key, we say that it can the user is sending to other system to encrypt the messages, and then when it receives that message, it decrypts that message using a private key that it contains. So that's why we say that the different keys are used for the asymmetric encryption. So if we are using a dual key or different keys for the encryption, then it may be used for a public key and as well as a private key for applying a signature to the data. So it will be dually verified by some system, so that an intruder cannot access particular data, cannot order something on behalf of some user, for example. So it's actually the way of securely providing this type of transaction, secure purchase of something on this system. And then it will authorize a user to order something, and then the payment will be done by some bank, and then the particular device, which is at a shop, for example. So it will send a purchase request to the particular bank, and then it will pay some order. It will provide some payment for the user. So in this way, we have different functions are used, which are doing something to provide a task like that. And then how we can uh, do the payment. So the device which is working at the at the particular shop, it will send a payment request to particular bank, for example. Then it will send the payment for that particular user, to that shop or to that device. And then it will also notify the user that the payment for particular thing is being done by the user. And in this way it will also notify to the user as well. So this is actually uh, these are the actually methods which are being done by the user to perform different things, or to perform different transactions using the internet or using some device to buy something from a shop, for example. So that is done by you can say a system uh, which is assisting to do some transactions like to perform some buying and uh, through the internet or to perform some buying through some shop, for example. So we have such thing whenever we are discussing any method to do some transaction. So that's all about how we can do the web security, how we can do some credit card to buy something on the internet or to buy something on the shop, for example. So if you have any question up to now, then you can also ask. Yes, any question?
Sir, what is a SSL required, sir?
It's a secure socket layer which is going to provide secure function between the client and server. So it consists of number of protocols which are working at this layer. So actually, this layer uh, is uh, is working on the transport layer. So mainly the web applications are being secured using a transport layer, or they are exchanging different data to each other using the transport layer. So that's actually is we have different layers which are working to send some data, like for example application layer, transport layer, network layer, data link layer, so physical layer. So these are the different layers. So as far as the web application is concerned, so that is actually working at the transport layer, and the secure socket layer is at that layer, and that is actually providing different functions of security, like we discussed, like encryption and integrity to the data. So they are provided to different functions or different algorithms, as we discussed, like for example, there's a protocol for providing the authentication handshake protocol, or there's a protocol providing some notification to the users or to the system, that is alert protocol, and there's a protocol to provide confidentiality and the authentication to the data or integrity to the data, that is a record protocol. So these are the different protocols which are used to provide different security functions at the secure socket layer. So it is a layer where the different functions are used, or different functions are provided by the particular system. Okay.
Sir,
Yes.
sir, how we use this protocol in our system, sir?
Actually, that is used by the system itself. So whenever we are using a particular version for the particular IP address, when we are accessing a particular web application for particular using a client and server, when the client locates to the server for a particular web application, so when it sends the data to other user, so they use these protocols, they use these functions to apply the security to apply the authentication, to apply the encryption to the data, and to apply the integrity to the data. So they are using these functions, and when they are sending any data, for example, if we are using a client server model, so in the client server model, there's a web browser is used to access some web page or web application from a server, and there's a web server, for example, which is sending the web page or web application or web service to the user. So when they exchange different messages with each other, they are using such protocols to authenticate themselves, or to provide the secrecy to the data, or to provide different notification to the data if any of the alert or if any of the error is being pinged to the data. So in this way, we have it can use different messages, and with these messages, these different protocols are used to apply on the data, or to apply on some you can say transactions which are being done between the client and server.
Okay, sir. Thank you, sir.
Okay, is there any other question?
Sir, what's the difference between SS enabled server and SSL enabled client, sir?
Actually, uh, the SSL or secured socket layer is working both at the network layer and from the client and from the server. So that is why we say that it is used to whenever any connection is being done between the client and server, it will send some messages which are sent by the user or which are sent by the client to the server, and then the server will send some messages to the client. So before sending some messages, they will authenticate themselves. So if any of the protocol which is being used, so uh, they are used by some network services to perform some tasks for that. So that is using some of the applications for that, to send this particular services to get particular service from a server, or to send particular service to the which is given to the client. So they will use them to perform some transaction, to perform some messages between client and server.
Okay, sir.
Okay, so today we further discuss about think that how we have a network data. For example, if you want to monitor that data, so that we can find out if any of the intruder is actually uh, is uh, is working at the network layer, which is performing some malicious tasks, which is getting some critical information from the data. So for that, we can do this with the help of some function like that is called some tool like we can say Wireshark. So it is a open source tool which is used to access some applications for used to monitor the traffic which is in the network, for example, or which is between the client and server, for example, or for example in the network, to know about the user which is a malicious user and which is going to access something from the data, which is going to access some services for the particular application, for example, which is actually maybe an unauthorized user. So we will discuss then, and then I will also demonstrate you that how you can work on this tool, this software to monitor some traffic on the data. and then you can I will also tell you that how you can do this. So before doing this, I will discuss that what this tool is about and how it's working and what are the different functions which are used for that. For example, for this, I have uh, these slides for this. For example, you can get the Wireshark tool from Wireshark website, for example, and you can download this. So it comes with the different versions like Windows, Linux, and Macintosh, and some other systems. So you can download that and install that. So this is the interface which is used for the Wireshark, and it consists of a number of different fields here. Like there's a command menu here, and there's a filter. There's a field here where you specify different rules for that. For example, if any of the data which you want to look at, uh, for example, the data with a particular address, the data with a particular port number, for example, you want to look at, the data with a particular message, for example, you want to look at. So then you can filter this with the help of this field, and then you have different packets which are in the network. For example, they are they will be displayed here, and each packet's details will be given also here when you want to when you click on particular packet, and then it will also show you the detail of the particular packet. And then there's it's further detail is given in a hexadecimal ASCII code. So mostly we are using this detail to look at for a particular packet, for example, which is received by the receiver. And after looking at particular packet, we can also see that what are the different features which are in the packet and which are provided in the packet. So uh, we have different features are provided in this way here. Like for example, if we are using some command, as I told you, there's a command menu. There are the different commands over there, and then we can use these commands to perform different tasks. And like for example, the file capture data capture command, and to save something or to save the packet data, we have for example, to export the data or to import the data. So we have different menus for that. And then we have a packet listing window as well, which contains about the packet. It details about the packet, that what is the protocol used by the packet, what is the source address, destination address, what's you can say port number, source and destination port number, and what are the different protocols which are used by the particular packet. So it will contains the information about this. And then we have something like packet header details, which contains header information about any packet. As you know that there's a format of the packet is working like that. There's a packet, and it contains a data. There's a packet header and the data, which contains the data about that particular packet. So the packet header contains a source address and destination address, or for example, source port number or destination port number. So from where the packet is coming to which the packet is being sent it. So this information is contained in the packet, and then it contains different other information like the protocols which are used by the particular packet, like TCP protocol or UDP protocol, and how they are used by some packet to send some information. And then we have other windows, as I show you to give the details of the particular packet. So there's it, there's also given hexadecimal format or ASCII format for particular packet. It may be used for some other application. So mostly the packet contains are you can just or you can say look it uh, using a packet contain window which tells the details of the particular packet. And for example, if there's a packet or it contains a particular frame which is used to send the data, and what are the different contents in that frame, for example, what are the different you can say headers are used, what are their contents, so they are shown in the packet detail, and you will see them using that. And then you have after doing this you can after capturing some data or after getting some data from the in the network which is used to perform different transactions, you can look at that using a function like for example there's a taste run, for example, you can do this, uh, and after doing this you can also see that if any of the packet or if any of the protocol, for example, from to which that protocol is connected, so you can see the different connections of that protocol as well as different connections for of that particular message also, or for particular data also, that from where data is been coming, for example. So what are the different what is the different route for that, so you can also identify that from where data is coming and to which data is going also. So you can also find out this with the help of this tool as well. So you have different functions can be performed. So as well as far as this tool is concerned, so whenever you install this tool, so a web browser will be open, and then you have an interface like this as we discussed, and this interface will contain different features. So before doing the different things, you have packet captured, or you will capture the packets from for a particular network, or you will have an interface to perform different functions. Like for example, as I discussed with you, that before that you have to identify that on which interface uh, you want to check for the particular packets. For example, there could be different interfaces on your system, on your laptop, or on your computer, on your network. So you have to select for a particular interface. After selecting the particular interface, then you can look at different data as well. So that data will contain different information, as I told you, that you can see from where data is coming to which data is going. For example, what is the data which is used by that packet, for example, or for example which port or which port number or which destination port is used. Or for example, if you want to filter for the particular way, for example, if any data is coming from particular website, so you want to look at that data, for example, so then you can also do this with the help of this tool as well. And then you have some other functions. So this is further interface. You can see the interface here of the Wireshark, and they are the different you can say interfaces used. Like you can use different cards like network interface cards in your system, maybe Ethernet, maybe a wireless or Wi-Fi card. So they you can get the detail of particular interface, and selecting particular interface you can get this. In this way you have different types of interfaces, and you can get some data for that. So then it will show you about the detail of the particular packets which are coming into the interface, and it will show you that what are the packets which are used, what are their source addresses, what are their destination addresses. For example, you can do this, and you can also find out for a particular application, for example. And then, for example, if you want to know about particular protocol, for example, like HTTP protocol or TCP protocol, uh, or for example FTP protocol or DNS, so you can also do this with the help of field that I told you to filter some data. So you can also do this, like for example, we have different versions of HTTP protocol, like it can use a HTTP GET message or HTTP post message. You can also look at there if you want to see the details for that. And so this is actually the interface which is provided. And here you can see the particular port number is a particular protocol like HTTP is used to look at that, that there's a particular data that is coming, and we want to look at that which protocol is used by a particular packet. So we can look at for particular protocol as well on this tool, for example. So here are some details are given. You can also find out some tutorial from this link as well, and you can also download some data for that. For example, if you want to further discuss about this, that what are the different rules can be applied for that, so we can also uh, discuss with some other. So, like for example, here, as I told you that the Wireshark can be used or can be used for different systems. Like it can be used for the Linux, or it can be used for Unix, for example. So you can also you have used if command to see the different interfaces for particular application. For example, IP config that would be used on the Windows to see the different interfaces. What are the different interfaces? Because here you are capturing the data for particular interface. So that is why you can also use this with the help of the if config on the Linux, and with the help of the IP config on the Unix as well. And you can also have something like you can look at the IP addresses. You can look at some protocols which are used by that. Like for example, net state command which show you the details of particular packets on the data, particular packets which are used on the data. So you can also filter that. So as I told you that it is um, widely used network tool which is uh, which is used to access some data, which is going to filter some packets which are coming in the network, and you can find out that these packets are coming from legit user or they are coming from unauthorized user. You can also do this with the help of the firewall. So it's a with the help of Wireshark. So it's a very you can say very useful tool and very strong tool, which in which you can also monitor the network, and in which you can also monitor. You can also find out the intruder or an attacker, which can perform malicious tasks on the data. For example, if we want to sniff for a particular password, for example, or want to get some authentication information for a particular user, so he can also do this. So you can also monitor that, and you can also check that if any of the user is going to access particular data from the system. So you can also do this. If any malicious activities can be used by can be performed by, you can say, on the data. Or for example, if there's a denial of service attack is launched by an attacker, for example, so you can also monitor this. You can also do this. For example, if any of the user uh, is going to access to the system that exceeds the limit of the particular access to that, so you can also block that user. You can also remove that user or use it. You can also do different tasks when you identify a particular user that is being considered as a, you can say, uh, as an intruder, or that has been identified as an intruder. So we have different versions for that. It can be used for the Windows, Linux, and Macintosh. So you can use this according to your utilizing of particular application or particular operating system. So it is also called the protocol analyzer. So where we analyze different protocols, what are their functions, how they are used by different user. Either they are used by legitimate user or they are used by the intruder, for example. So we can also analyze this with the help of the Wireshark as well. And then we have different sequence of the protocol which is used. So we can examine different protocols, different interfaces, for example, and different users which are accessing different machines, different systems, for example, and also the packets which are coming into the network, or the packets which are going out of the network. So we can apply different filters as well on that, that which data we want to see or we want to look at, and which data we want to, for example, there are so many packets are coming, and we want to see particular packets which are related to the particular protocol, for example. We want to see the particular packets which are related to particular source address, or we want to see the particular packets which are going to particular destination address. So when we run the Wireshark, so we will capture the packets for a particular interface, for example. So there could be different interfaces could be used on your system, or on laptop, or on the network, for example, or on the device, for example. So from of which interface we want to look the data, and we want to monitor the data. So then you select for that interface. So this interface again is shown is here, which consists of different packets information. It contains the details of the packet. I will also tell you that how you can use that software, how you can filter different packets. So we can filter different packets. So they are the different types of filtering, like capture filtering and display filtering, for example. Capture filtering, where we filter for particular packet while we are capturing the packets, for example, while we are getting particular packets, for example, using a tool like a TCP dump tool, or we can perform some display filter to see some details of the particular packets. So we can also do this with the help of this. And you can, for example, you can see, you can perform filter on particular packet that you want to see the data only for the UDP protocol, or you want to see the data only for the TCP protocol, for example. You want to see the data with the UDP, and put UDP, and it will contain the protocol like 53, for example, for the DNS. And you want to see the protocol, see the data using a UDP protocol with the port number 53, for example. So in this way, you can capture the data with the different protocols which are used by the source packet, which is coming from, uh, for example, some user, for example. You want to see that where the data is going. So you also want to see the particular packet for that. You also want to see the particular port number for that. So you can do all these things on the Wireshark, and then you can also see that if you want to see particular packet that is coming from particular web application, particular website, for example. So you can also do this using a filter, like uh, for example, http.host, and then name of the website, destination host, name of the website, for example. So in this way, you can also look at for a particular website as well, and then you can also perform some other filters as well. Like for example, you want to see that uh, you can say frame with a length more than 10 bytes, for example. Or for example, you want to see the details of the packets which are coming from this network having this IP address, and you also want to see the details of the particular data which is coming from particular interface, for example. And you also specify that how many bytes you want to look at, for example, from either one or two, or from for example, for the TCP protocol, how many bytes you want to see on that. So in this way, you can have different filters for that. So there's a way of writing different filters, different rules for that. So different other tools are also can be used for these functions, like TCP dump, IP, some dump, or Etherl. So they are so Etherl is also now attached with the Wireshark as well. So there are different other variation, different other alternatives in place of Wireshark. You can also do this. So there comes some security and privacy issues whenever you are using this Wireshark, because it's a very powerful tool, and it can access different data from a particular packet or different data from particular network. So that's why you have to carefully use this, so that the privacy of some user or some network will not be exploited. And yes, I will also do this and also upload this on the LMS as well. So these are different, you can say, functions, for example, can be used. For example, you can also make a sheet for that, that what filters you want to do, and uh, then you can aid or give an input that sheet to the Wireshark, for example, and then it will use